And as we look ahead to tonight's State of the Union address from President Trump, much to unpack. Joining us live now is Aaron Dusso, Associate Professor for Political Science at Indiana University, Indianapolis. Good to have you with us today, Aaron. What's the most important undertaking the president has in his speech tonight?
Really, the biggest and most important thing for President Trump is to outline what he plans, he thinks the country should move over the next year. And I think that this comes at a critical time for him, given that his approval ratings have dropped to, on average, about 40 to 41%. And this is kind of a danger zone for him because during his first term, the last 3 years, this would be considered maybe the bottom of what his approval rating was. He tended to be higher than this right now. So right now, he's at a critical juncture, I think, in his presidency to see where he's going to go and how the American people are going to respond.
And how much do you think this speech could shift the dial, and especially in regards to the upcoming midterm elections and setting the tone for that?
I mean, it's a big speech, obviously, because it's something that millions of people watch, and it's covered more than any other speech. But in the end, when it comes to the elections and when it comes to what Congress actually does, the rubber hits the road in the next couple of months when Congress actually takes action on the things that President Trump suggests that they do. And ultimately, when it comes to the election in November, most people won't even remember this speech at this point. So it'll be all hinge on what's the state of the economy and how people are feeling about the president at that time.
So what kind of vision do you think will really change and improve the spirit of voters' opinions right now in regards to the president? You mentioned the polls right now, which is pretty normal for this time of year during his presidency. But what do you think he needs to paint there in his vision?
I mean, I still think that he has to focus in on the things that affect the average American the most. And of course, right now, that's still prices, right? He has campaigned in 24 on he was going to lower prices on day one, and they're still working on that. And my understanding is that there will be some new initiatives offered up in this speech in trying to combat, cost of living problems. And I think that this is something that'll hit home, because it's the kitchen table for every single person in this country. Is currently the challenges of just buying groceries every day. And, sure, some tax cuts might help a little bit, but in the end, this is, every single day unrelenting higher costs that don't seem to be going anywhere.
And yet President Trump does have arguments pointing to many of the successes in regards to the economy. So what does he need to do to get that message to really come home for people?
I think, so, I mean, like presidents before him, they'll tout the things that look good for him, and so that's not surprising. That's not unique to Donald Trump. But you got to move beyond, say, the most generic numbers, such as the stock market hitting all-time highs. For most of us that are sitting in this country, the stock market hitting all-time highs doesn't have that big an effect. What has an effect is when we go out and buy, our weekly groceries, and it costs, 30 to 40% more than it did a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Now, about 50 Democrats so far say they're skipping Trump's speech tonight. You heard it just earlier. Is that unusually, historically, and what does it signal about the current political climate?
I mean, that is unusually high. I mean, having that many of the opposition party skip it entirely is not very common. But what it says about this country is really kind of a manifestation of what we've seen, this path we've been on over the last 40 years, which is an increase in polarization. So, and in particular, we see a partisanship that is really hinged on disliking the other party more than it is actually liking your own. And so we see this in numbers and surveys, academic surveys all the time, where we have this massive polarized country when it comes to our feelings, and that polarization is one of the worst kind of polarizations, where it's about negativity. It's that I might not like my party that much, but I really, really dislike the other party, and so I'm kind of stuck here with what I've got.
Now, what do you expect from the Democratic rebuttal at this point within the context of what you just said, and who do you think they need to reach in their goals and their challenges in that?
ultimately, I think the challenge for, I think it's Governor Spanberger who's going to be giving this rebuttal speech. I think the challenge is the same as the challenge for Donald Trump. It's to reach us, the average person, sitting at home and facing the same challenges we faced a year ago or 2 years ago. And so we want to see some movement there. And so is a Democrat going to be able to give it to us? Is a Republican be able to get it to us? We don't know, but that's the challenge when we want to be able to see someone who has some type of plan that's actually going to work.
Is there anything that you think might be missing from the broader context here, or the broader discussion on not just the State of the Union speech, but the president's vision for the future and the Democratic Party as they stand right now?
Well, I mean, there is, of course, what most State of the Union spend a lot of time on is foreign policy. And foreign policy right now seems to be a bit disjointed. What I would be looking for, and I think a lot of people who are very interested in this type of area would be looking for, is some type of coherence. So what is our actual goal, going here? Saying America first, that doesn't really provide any detailed information. So outlining exactly what is a coherent foreign policy in relation to NATO, our historic allies, within the Western Hemisphere and Venezuela. I mean, what is happening here with Venezuelan oil and who's running that country? I mean, so what is it that we're actually trying to do and accomplish? And I think you got to move beyond saying America, make America better or make America great again.
How does one do that successfully, do you think?
Well, that's a challenge. I expect that this speech is going to be over an hour. And so if you have over an hour to talk to people, you can get into some of the weeds. I think you have enough time to do that. I don't expect that'll happen. But I think, an hour of national television, you can actually talk detail. What is, so if I'm the president, what is my foreign policy goal here with relations to all of these different countries and all the things that seem to be happening around the world? I don't think that they're going to do that, but I think that there's a lot of people who would be very interested to see some type of coherent foreign policy outline.
I mean, President Trump has sought to quell a lot of conflicts around the world. Some people are calling him the president of peace. Is that the kind of direction that would succeed for him in terms of uplifting the people and unifying the people?
Well, I mean, peace obviously pulls really well. So if you can, make an argument that you are pursuing peace, I think that that's always a positive. But at some point, it has to move beyond words. We have to see the actions. What is actually happening here? Again, campaigned on that you were going to end the conflict in Ukraine on day one. And so here we are over a year later, and it hasn't happened. So what is actually happening? And how, what is it? What are we even doing in Venezuela? I think a lot of people have that question. And so peace is great, but the word is hollow if we don't see actual actions and actual plans being put into place to achieve those goals.
Certainly the president has a chance to lay those out for us tonight. We'll all be watching closely. Thank you so much for your time today, Aaron Dusso.
Thank you.